that you do, and I can
Hi
do
there.
a video on that.
I want to do a video today on what I mean by drawing with intention and just really staying focused on your drawing and trying not to let your mind wander too much. I'm going to do a Zentangle pattern called static, and I think it's just a really good way to kind of simply show focusing on the lines that you're drawing.
But really focusing on
so we will start with just, and for those of you who don't know what you think about Zentangle, really these are just sort of starting points that you do, and I can do a video on that later too, on the actual starting of a Zentangle pattern. But anyway, this is just kind of how we start.
Just make our strokes,
drawing our little frame,
with
then switching to pen because that's what we do. So we're not tempted to erase, and we just go with the flow.
We're really thinking about where each mark
we are going to just start drawing our lines, but really focusing on the actual movement of the line. Sometimes you can get a little bit slow with these,
so we can just make
but we just don't want to go too fast, because that's when we start getting sloppy and we start not really focusing and staying in the moment of our lines.
So you don't have to worry and panic when you start
we'll just make our strokes with
and then we'll
a lot
repeat this
of actual intention.
As an example, because you're
so
really
we're not going
just
fast,
simple
we're not being sloppy,
over and over.
we're really thinking about
so really
where each mark
focused
starts and stops.
where that line is going, where it's starting,
and quickly in this pattern, sometimes you're going to be repeating this all the way up. So we can just make little guidelines so we know where the peaks of our
and make it be a more
pyramids go. And that's just to kind of, so you don't have to worry and panic when you start going off pattern a little bit. And then we'll just repeat this up. And this is a good one as an example, because you're really just repeating simple lines over and over. So you can really stay focused on where that line is going, where it's starting, where it's stopping, and continuing up. And since it's a repeated pattern all the way up, you can really get into the motion of this and make it be a more mindful
through the motions
exercise than some of the others that are a little bit more creative.
You're just kind of like, oh great, let's just get these lines over
and
with,
for the
up
sake
and down,
of
up and down.
showing you the difference,
And likely your
I
mind
will
is wandering
actually
while
do
you're
some
doing it.
lines that I think
This is
are not so
drawing with
mindful.
intention. We want each line
So
to matter.
let's finish up this
And down.
line.
And that's why sometimes it helps to draw your little guidelines.
And when we're
too,
going along and we're
because
like,
you can feel and see where that starting and stopping point
this is not mindful. You're just getting through the motions.
And they don't
You're not
have to be
focusing
perfect.
on
So
what
you're
you're
just
doing.
kind
You're
of
not focusing on the
loosely
lines. You're
drawing
not
lines up
focusing
there.
on your marks.
So
You're just kind of like, oh great, let's just get these lines over with. Up and down, up and down, up and down. And likely your mind is wandering while you're doing it.
So I will go
This
ahead
is
and
not
finish
drawing
these
with
out.
intention. We want
Probably
each
just edit
line
out these last
to matter.
few,
Up
so you don't have to
and down. And that's why sometimes it helps to draw your little guidelines too, because you can feel
rows
and see
being drawn.
where that starting and stopping point is. And they don't have to be perfect. You see, I just kind of loosely drew my lines up there, just so, suddenly you're not veering way off to the side, and then you start to panic because nothing's lining up. And so just drawing with intention. So I will go ahead and finish these out, and probably just edit out these last few, so you don't have to watch the entire rows being drawn. Okay, we've reached the top here. So we're just going to fill in the spaces that are blank. Just as if we're going along, as if we don't make those marks, but we start just where we would have otherwise. Up, down, up, and down, just finishing it off. And you can decide if you need a little mark in there or not. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And then also at the bottom, just finish off these holes. Now see, these don't need an extra mark. This, that one I'll just put a little dot there, just to show that there's a little peak coming up. So this is static, and I just find it to be a really good exercise for practicing drawing with intention.
And I'll cut this video now, and I will start another one on shading this same design.